The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leisure Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
G'day, it's Gus Walland here from Gotcha for Life and Triple M. I'd love to invite you along to the Mental Fitness Gym. Go to the mentalfitnessgym.org. That is a place where you can pick up some exercises to build your mental fitness, to work on that emotional muscle, those muscles in your head that are so powerful. Please come and join us at the mentalfitnessgym.org for all that stuff to build your emotional muscle and your mental fitness.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and it is the tipping podcast for week 3 of the finals. And I have my little sidekick here. Ella, how you going again?
Good.
Welcome back. So
Excited.
Yes, I know you love doing the tipping
Yeah,
podcast. There's only a couple more. There's 3 more games.
no.
3 more games to tip. So
No.
these games are the important ones. These games will decide who the 2024 grand finalists are. But last week we both got 1 right each.
Okay.
You got the Sharks.
And we both got 1 wrong each.
That's correct. You got the Sharks right. I got the Cowboys wrong. I got the Roosters right. You got the Sea Eagles wrong. So,
Yeah. Sounds about right.
that's it. 50% each. That is not too bad. So, let's move on to this weekend's games. And it kicks off in Melbourne on Friday night. It is the Storm versus the Roosters down there at Amy Park. The minor premiers, the Melbourne Storm. Look, they are looking pretty difficult to beat, I think, down there in Melbourne in front of a home crowd. Now, there is the AFL Grand Final on Saturday, so it is a public holiday on the Friday, so they are expecting a full house at Amy Park. Plenty of purple in the crowd, that is for sure. Grant Atkins has got the refereeing job for that one. Pretty easy for the Storm. No changes to the side that rolled the Sharks in week 1 in pretty convincing fashion. Sua Failongo missed that match with a hamstring injury, but he is on an extended bench, so potentially he could make a return into this game. And Grant Anderson is the 18th man now for the for the Roosters. Trent Robinson, he has had the luxury of this week sticking with the same team that down the Sea Eagles pretty impressively, 40 points to 16. Victor Radley, he is once again going to have to play through the pain barrier with that fractured scapula. But a remarkable effort last week. He did score a try last week in the win. Now, they've played two times this season, and we all know the Roosters' record against the Melbourne Storm and the Penrith Panthers, but it is a pretty dismal reading. I think it's 1 in about 20 games. So the Storm have beaten the Roosters twice this season. 24 points to 8 was the last time they played in July, and the first time they played this year was in April in round number 7 at Allianz Stadium, with the Melbourne Storm getting that victory 18 points to 12. So look, it is all up against the Sydney Roosters if they're going to beat this hoodoo. Look, I wouldn't underestimate the Roosters. They still have some pretty good players in their squad. James Tedesco, he led the charge last week, had an absolute blinder of a week and of a game, and the inclusion of Jared Wilberia-Hargreaves absolutely bolstered their forward pack. So, look, they still have a pretty good squad themselves. Very damaging backs, exciting backs that can score a lot of points. Joey Manu got back to a bit of form as well. Angus Crichton, we have seen this year, has been one of the back rowers, if not the second rower of the year. But the Melbourne Storm, they have had the week off after they downed the Sharks down in Melbourne, as I mentioned before. So they are ready, they are pumped for this game. These are the games that they have in mind. They want to play in September. So, look, their key players again will be Ryan Pappenhausen, obviously Cameron Munster and Jerome Hughes as well. The forward battle between Nelson Asafa-Solomona and Jared Waria-Hargreaves is going to be a big one. Harry Grant, Connor Watson, that could be a bit of a battle as well. The New South Wales and Queensland hookers from the state of origin as well. So that could be a good encounter as well. Look, I'm not going to underestimate the Roosters in this one. They will give it a good shake. I think they may try and turn this hoodoo around, obviously. The Storm, they will be difficult to beat, that is for sure. Look, it's only 2 games to tip this week, so look, Ella, who are you going to tip in this one, the Storm or the Roosters, to get into the grand final?
I don't really know for this one.
So the Storm, they've had a week off.
I see they're first.
They finished the regular season in first, and the Roosters finished the regular season in third. Who are you going to go for?
It's
been played down in Melbourne as well.
Okay. On the Storm, the Melbourne team?
Yep.
Or one of them, if there's multiple.
Yep.
I actually think I'm going to go for the Storm.
Okay,
because it is Melbourne, they are the Melbourne Storm.
Yep.
So...
Yeah, look, as I said, that's probably a good tip there. I will probably tip the Storm as well, but I wouldn't underestimate the Roosters. They may pull something out of the bag and surprise us, but it is going to be very tough to beat.
Well, you do never know, do you?
That's
Until it actually happens.
That's it. Rugby league is a strange game. Now, I probably don't need to get your tip on this game.
Yes, because it is Panthers and Sharks.
That is right. So I will talk about it anyway. But this game is being played at a core stadium on Saturday, 7:50 p.m. The Panthers, the second place Panthers, take on the fourth place Sharks. That's where they finished in the regular season. Look, the Panthers, this is their 5th prelim final in a row. Pretty remarkable. They are going for their 4th premiership in a row. The Sharks, they won a premiership in 2016. Can they do it again? Look, they were pretty impressive last week against the North Queensland Cowboys. Nicho Hynes, he had a little bit of a quiet game, but he did his job. Braden Trindle, he was outstanding, so he will be one to watch for sure this week. But yeah, if he pulls out another performance like he did last week against the Cowboys, then the Sharks will be hard to beat because he was outstanding. Try assist, scored a couple of tries himself. Nicho Hynes, he will need to step it up again even further this week. His battle with Nathan Cleary will be an impressive one, I think, mate against mate. So it was reported during the week, I think, when Nathan had his injury, I think he was speaking to Nicho Hynes about Origin as well. over at his house. So mate against mate there. But I think Nicho Hynes, he will step it up this week as well. He knows the importance of this game to get into his first grand final. Obviously, he was on the bench for the Melbourne Storm grand final victory against the Penrith Panthers in 2020, but didn't get on the field. So he will want to get into another grand final. I think they are the two keys for the Cronulla Sharks. Obviously, their forwards will have to get them on the front foot. Britton Nikora, he is a key player in that back row for them, and we got the tackle machine there at number 13, Cameron McInnes. This game being refereed by Ashley Klein as well, which potentially looks like he will be the grand final referee, which is very surprising because last year's grand final referee Adam G hasn't been anywhere to be seen in this final series. But look, a good thing for the Sharks is that they have had the luxury of naming the same 17 that beat the Cowboys just last week as well. So Nicho Hynes is 4 games into his comeback from his ankle injury, and it will actually be his 100th NRL match. So we all know how players step it up, I guess, in players' milestone games. So he will remember this 100th NRL match. If we think back to 2022, Reid Marnie, he played his 100th NRL game in the prelim final for the Parramatta Eels up against the Cowboys up there in Townsville, which they got a win. So maybe, potentially, if people believe in omens, that could be a good omen for the Sharks, Nicho Hynes and the Sharks. So just repeating that, he's playing his 100th NRL match in the prelim final. The grand final, if the Sharks make it, will be his 101st. For the Panthers, Scott Sorensen, their Kiwi back rower, he's been named amongst the reserves bench. He has had a hamstring injury that ruled him out of the first final against the Roosters. There could be a little bit of a reshuffle if he is a late call-up. Probably Brad Schneider will be making way for Luke Garner on the bench. Currently at the moment, Brad Schneider named on the interchange bench, Luke Garner in that second row position, but Scott Sorensen has been named in jersey number 20. Look, this will be a tough game. The Panthers, as I said, they'll be gunning for 4 premierships in a row. Their, 5th grand final. They will want to get in there. They have been the champion side of the NRL over the last 5 years. So, look, Dylan Edwards at fullback there, he'll be wanting to impress and potentially get that fullback position for Australia over James Tedesco. A couple of players leaving for the Panthers, so more motivation for them in this game. Jerome Luai going to the Tigers, James Fisher-Harris going to the New Zealand Warriors. So a couple of players there, and also Taruva as well on the wing. He's going to the Tigers as well. So also, I guess you could say a little bit of more motivation there. Look, I think the Sharks, they played really well last week against the North Queensland Cowboys, but this is another massive test for them. The Penrith Panthers, they are the benchmark in this NRL competition, so they are going to have to play like they did last week, plus even more to get this victory. Hoping to probably get a 40,000 crowd there. That would be good to see. Even more potentially, that would be good to see to fill up a core stadium. Obviously, the ground that the NRL Grand Final is being played at a week later. Should I even ask you, Ella, who you're going to tip in this one, or do I just assume that you're going for the Panthers?
I think you should just assume.
Okay.
Because I am.
Okay, well, yes.
Because Panthers are better.
Yes, well...
In my opinion, of course.
Well, probably everyone's opinion. Most people's opinion. Look, I said it a couple of weeks ago. I think it will be a Penrith-Melbourne grand final, so I will tip the Panthers in this one as well.
Good job.
Although, yeah, look, I mean, they will be super hard to beat. I think the Sharks, they will give it a really good go. And look, again, rugby league it is a strange game. They may surprise us, but look, they get it's an uphill battle.
Well, yeah, you never know. So.
That's right. It is an uphill battle, but Saturday about 10 p.m.-ish, I'm tipping we will know who is in the 2024 grand final.
And are we going to tip that?
Well, yes, we can. That will be an even shorter podcast, I guess. But
it will be like 5 minutes.
Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see what we'll have planned for that one. But
yeah.
So this week you have tipped the Melbourne Storm. I've tipped the Melbourne Storm. We've actually tipped the same this week.
Oh, is that our first all same?
That's right. So hopefully we can probably get it right.
Yeah.
And
because it's our first all same, isn't it?
That it is. So by the tips, it is going to be. From our tips, it is going to be a Penrith-Melbourne grand final, but we'll just have to wait and see. It could be a Roosters-Sharks grand final.
No, Panthers.
Could be a Storm Sharks grand final.
Panthers.
Could be a Roosters Panthers grand final.
That sounds good.
Okay, well there you go. All right. Well, thank you very much for listening to this very short one tonight.
Yeah, it's only like 15 minutes.
Yes, only because there's a couple of games there.
Yeah, there's like 2 games.
A little bit to talk about, and also the tipping as well. So thank you very much for listening to the tipping podcast with Troy and Ella. We really appreciate it. We do. Getting some good feedback lately, especially the fans loving Ella being on the podcast. So thank you once again.
And if you have anything to say about the podcast, you could leave it in a review or anything. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Ella, for reminding me there. So, thank you very much for listening. If your team is playing this weekend, good luck. I know how nerve-wracking it is to watch these prelim finals. I was there 2 years ago with Parramatta in the prelim final. I put up a post on Instagram the other day of watching the last minute of that game. It is definitely a nerve-wracking game to watch, and if your team is in it, support. So if your team is in it, good luck, and we will know who the grand finalists are. Thank you very much for listening. Enjoy your footy over the weekend. There will be a preview of these 2 games coming up later on in the week as well, and then there will be a review of this one next week, these couple of games next week as well. So thank you, enjoy your football, and look, I know they're not playing, but as I always say, go Para.
I knew it.
Hello Paracave podcast listeners, my name is Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty and long-term sponsor of the Paracave podcast. If you're looking to sell your property or buy, or just curious to know what your property is worth in today's market, give me a call today on 0421 588 445.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.